I am going to tell you something I have never told anyone. Not my sister, not my pastor, not the men I worked with for 35 years at Ford. My son did not call me for 2 years. Not on my birthday. Not on Christmas. Not when his mother died. And for 23 months, I believed the thing that felt most natural to believe, that he had forgotten me, that I no longer mattered, that I had somehow failed as a father, and this was the result. I was wrong. But the truth I found out was harder to hear than the silence had been. My name is Raymond. I am 83 years old. I spent 35 years building engines at the Ford River Rouge plant in Dearborn. I know how machines work. I know how to diagnose a problem. What I did not know was how to diagnose my own family. I want to tell you what I learned. Not because it has a happy ending, but because if you are sitting somewhere right now wondering why your son or your daughter has gone quiet, you deserve to hear this before you spend another year believing the wrong thing. Daniel was born in 1977, the same year I made foreman at the plant. Beverly and I were 26 years old, and we thought we had figured out the world. I was not a warm man. Beverly was warm enough for both of us. I provided, I showed up, I fixed things when they broke. I thought that was what a father did. Daniel grew up and became an engineer too. Software, worlds away from what I did. But I understood the logic of it. Build something, make it work. I was proud of him. In 2019, Daniel moved to San Jose. Beverly and I drove him to the airport. She cried. I shook his hand. I thought that was the right thing to do. Strong, steady, like always. That was the last time I touched my son. The calls got shorter, then less frequent. Then Beverly died in February 2021. Daniel came home for the funeral. We stood at her grave. He left the next morning. After that, nothing. Months went by. I called. He answered twice. Both times he sounded like a man trying to get off the phone. Then he stopped answering altogether. His voicemail filled up. I stopped leaving messages somewhere around October of 2022. I told myself he was busy. Then I told myself he needed space. Then I stopped telling myself anything and just sat with it. In March of 2023, I had a health scare. Nothing serious in the end, but for about a week I did not know that. And during that week I realized I did not have my son's current address. I called his old number. Disconnected, I emailed. No reply. I sat in that waiting room and thought for the first time in my life that I might die before I ever spoke to my son again. I called Daniel's cousin Michael. They had been close growing up. I told Michael I was trying to reach Daniel, and I was not going to pretend I understood why he had gone quiet. I just needed to know he was alive. Michael went quiet on the phone for a long moment, and then he said something that I have been turning over in my mind every day since. He said, "Uncle Raymond, Daniel is not forgetting you. Daniel is ashamed." I did not understand. I asked Michael to explain, and he told me something about my son that I had not known, something Daniel had never told me, something I suspect Daniel thought would disappoint me. Daniel's company had run into trouble in 2020. He had been laid off. He had gone through his savings. He and his wife had nearly lost their apartment. He had not called me because he was a 45-year-old man who could not tell his father that he was failing. not just financially, in all the ways he thought I measured success. My son did not forget me. My son was ashamed of himself, and he did not call because he did not think I would understand, because I had spent 35 years being a man who fixed things, and he had become a thing he could not fix, and he thought I would see that the same way I saw a broken engine. I sat with that for a very long time. Here is the thing about being a man who fixes engines for 35 years. You learn to see everything as a problem with a cause. You find the cause, you fix it. Done. What I had never learned was that some things are not broken, some things are just bent, and you cannot fix a bent thing the same way you fix a broken one. You have to be slower, more careful, and sometimes you have to ask the bent thing what it needs before you reach for the wrench. I wrote Daniel a letter, not an email, a letter, on paper, with a stamp, the way Beverly used to write to her mother. I told him I knew. I told him Michael had told me. I told him I was not disappointed. And then I told him something I had never said to him in 46 years. I told him I was proud of him, not for his job or his degrees or his salary, for surviving something hard without asking anyone for help. I knew that feeling. I had done it myself more times than I could count. I just had not known he had learned it from me. I did not ask him to call. I did not put a deadline on it. I just told him the door was open and that I would be here. He called 11 days later. We talked for 4 hours. It was the longest conversation we had ever had in his entire life, and it started with him saying, "Dad, I did not think you would understand," and me saying, "I did not think I would either, but I am trying." Beverly would have known what to do immediately. She always did. I needed 11 months and a health scare and a phone call from a nephew to figure out what she would have understood in 5 minutes. I want to talk to you now, not to the parents, to the children. If you have gone quiet on someone who loves you, I want you to hear this from a man who was on the other side of it for 2 years. Your silence is not protecting them. I know you think it is. I know you think that if they knew how much you were struggling, it would worry them. It would disappoint them. It would confirm something you are afraid they believe about you. But here is what your silence is actually doing. It is leaving them alone with their worst explanation. And the worst explanation an aging parent reaches for is always the same one, that they failed, that they are the reason, that everything they did wrong is now showing up in the quiet. I spent 23 months believing I had failed my son. Do you understand what 23 months of that does to a man? I could not sleep. I lost weight I did not have to lose. I sat in the garage at 2 in the morning and talked to an engine that did not talk back because at least it listened. You are not protecting them from your problems. You are protecting yourself from a conversation that might be hard, and I understand that. I did the same thing with Beverly for 30 years, but here is what I know now that I did not know then. The conversation you are afraid to have is never as bad as the silence you are living in. Call. Not when things are better. Not after you figure it out. Not when you have something good to report. Call now. With the mess, with the failure, with the thing you think they cannot handle. They can handle it. Trust me. They have been handling silence for 2 years. They can handle the truth in 10 minutes. Now let me talk to the parents again. If your child has gone quiet, I want you to consider something before you decide what it means. It probably does not mean what you think it means. It probably does not mean they forgot you. It might mean they are ashamed. It might mean they are struggling. It might mean they inherited your silence the same way you inherited it from your own father. And now neither of you knows how to be the one who goes first. Go first. Write the letter. Make the call. Say, I do not know what is happening, but I am not going anywhere. The door is open. I will be here. Daniel and I talk every Sunday now. Not for 4 hours every time. Sometimes 15 minutes, sometimes less. But every Sunday, he calls me. I pick up on the first ring. He is doing better. The job came back. He and his wife have a daughter now. Her name is Beverly. I am 83 years old. I do not know how much time I have. But I know this. The 2 worst years of my life were the years I spent believing my son had forgotten me. And the best thing that ever happened in those 2 years was finding out I was wrong. You might be wrong too. Go find out. If you found something in this that you needed to hear, send it to your father. Send it to your son. Send it to whoever is on the other side of your silence. Not because it will fix everything, but because it might be the thing that starts the conversation. And sometimes that is all you need, a start.